Welcome. This is Money Heart, where we explore the emotional side of money. I'm Camille Diaz, and today we're discussing Know Your Numbers. My guest is Jennifer Edwards. She's the owner of Direction Entrepreneurial Solutions. Jennifer, welcome to Money Heart.
Thank you, Camille, and thank you for letting me be a part of this fun thing you're doing.
Absolutely. You're so welcome. Okay. You specialize in coaching new solopreneurs and small business owners as they start off on their new business journey. What's the typical mindset and kind of emotional state when somebody's launching that first new business?
This is the whole reason that I became a business consultant. I love that part of it. They are excited. They have that entrepreneurial spirit. And when they finally make that final decision and say, I'm really going to do this, I'm really going to be a business owner, they're just super excited. They're super excited. And for me, that's the most fun, is to catch them in that first part and to be able to be a part of that journey.
That's awesome. That is the fun part. Absolutely. What are they usually missing when they decide they're going to make that leap? Because they get really caught up in that excitement part. What kind of gets left out?
Most people who are those that have an entrepreneurial spirit like that are, they are typically just jumping. And that's good, because you have to be just a little bit of a risk taker to make a decision and jump out and be an entrepreneur. Typically, the thing that they miss is just how much money it takes to start a business. And I coach them a lot on making sure that they are not missing that mark, so that at some point down the road, they don't have a lot of regret associated with that.
Oh yeah, good point. If it just becomes a big struggle, you're going to end up regretting, why did I even do this, huh?
Yep, for sure.
Yeah. So like, let's say I'm starting something that doesn't require a big upfront commitment. So I'm not having a storefront. I just have to buy some product or get a license or something like that. Why would I need to have money aside? Like, what's the deal there?
Well, if you want to jump and you literally want to quit your job and just go whole hog, which is great, you would really want to make sure that you had something to fall back on. I say cash is king. And what I mean by that is, and here's where I'm going to burst the bubble. So this is probably the first thing that I say to all newbies, and that is, you're probably not going to make any money for at least 18 to 24 months. And even then, you're going to start making money at 18 to 24 months. That doesn't mean you're going to be replacing a salary. And so what I tell them is, if you want to be the most confident that you can be and give yourself the biggest opportunity to be successful, you really want to have that 18 to 24 months worth of your personal bills set aside that you do not touch. So that would be the very first thing.
So let me just make sure that I got this straight. If I'm starting a new business, I can't make $100,000 in the first year and just, skyrocket, most likely. I'm sure it happens every once in a while, but there's no miracle solution.
So I know that there are the people that are out on YouTube and, whatever, who skyrocket and they say, I was just doing this thing and then all of a sudden I just started making all this money and I don't know how. I have to say, the money just started coming in and I didn't even try. I feel certain that maybe that happens, but I've not personally met anybody where that was the case.
Sure.
No matter what, and even if you are that person who jumps out, makes the decision, and immediately starts making money, my bet is that you've probably been doing that thing since you were 12. Whatever it is. You were passionate about it from the time you were 12 years old. So you can't say I was an overnight success because you were actually studying that since you were 12.
Right.
You know,
So you put
whatever.
in that whole concept of you got to have the 10,000 hours. Somehow you were putting in your
Yes,
hours, whether it was talking to people or whatever that specialty was or whatever, for a
absolutely.
while. And then you finally made it an actual business. That makes a
Yes.
lot more sense than the overnight success, because there really is no magic quantum leap. It's you did the work, and then all of a sudden people are like, whoa, how'd that happen? You just instant overnight success. And you're like, yeah, it's been 5 years or 20 or whatever.
That is exactly right. So I just encourage people, you know what, if you save up that 2 years worth of your personal bills and you become an overnight success, then go take a great vacation.
Awesome. Yeah.
But if you need that money to pay your bills, then you're going to be awfully glad it's there.
Yes, for sure. For sure. What happens if, I'm guessing you tell this to everyone and then some of them do it and some of them don't.
Yes.
What happens when they don't do that piece, or when the excitement of getting away from the corporate job or whatever it is overrides the logic piece? What ends up happening?
Well, what I have seen typically happens is the excitement is still there, but there's an underlying, and I don't want to call it, I mean, the only word that really makes any sense to me is desperation. So you haven't saved up any money. You are, 12 months in, you're still not making any money. And you're sitting in front of people day in and day out, doing your networking, doing all the, you tell your story 1,000 times over. But there's this undercurrent that is desperate because you don't have the money saved. You can't pay the rent. You can't, whatever it is you got to pay, and the money's not there. And then all of a sudden people can feel that when you're out doing those introductions for yourself and you're making all of these connections, and it literally just becomes really, really evident that there's this undercurrent of something, and they may not know what it is, but people can feel it. People can sense it in you.
Yeah, they sure can. I think I had somebody message me one time a few years ago, and they said, I need you to buy some product from me because I'm about to qualify for this thing, but it has to be before the end of July. And I'm like, I don't need that product right now, and I don't really want it, and I don't care. not that we're not friends and I don't want you to qualify for the thing, but people aren't buying because of what you need. They're buying because what they need.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. So true. So true. So how can they, obviously that's going to create massive amounts of stress if they're not kind of following your advice there and having that 2 years. Is 2 years pretty standard? Like you really need to save 2 years of rent, bills, food?
I say yes. And it really does boil down to, if you can save 2 years worth of bills and just have that security of that money sitting back there, then it's just a security. You can always use it for your next vacation. You can always use it to pay off your car. You can always use it for whatever. If your business takes off and you're one of those people who just get in at the right time and the right place with the right people, then it never hurts to have savings. It's just not a bad thing.
Nobody's whining about how much money they have saved in their bank account. Like, oh, I have so much, I don't know what to do.
What am I going to do with all my money?
Yes, not a problem. That is so true. So I love that. So where does a new business owner start when they're trying to figure this out and make this plan, and maybe kind of use that energy to figure out how they can make all this happen? What's the best start? How do we get it together on that?
I always suggest that they write a business plan. Now, all of a sudden, people are like, I don't want to do that. But the honest to goodness truth is, it doesn't have to be like what you hear about. It doesn't have to be a financial business plan that you're going to submit to a bank. You just need a plan. If you have a plan on what you want to do for marketing, if you have a plan for how much money you want to spend, create a loose budget. Like, okay, I don't have all of this money, but let's just say you have $5,000 to start your business. decide where you're going to spend that $5,000 before you start spending it, and put that into a business plan. And a business plan will make all the difference, because you have something to go back to once things have gotten off the ground, or even beforehand, just to know where you're headed, to have a roadmap. I like to call it a roadmap. That's the number one thing. And then of course, after that, there's all the technical things, like don't ever commingle your money, and the thousands of other things that you have to do. But that very first thing really is a plan. You can't do anything unless you really have a plan.
Yeah. What if we already got really excited and started our business and didn't do any of the things that you just said? How do we get back on track? What's the next best step? Because I'm sure you see a lot of people that, most people don't think to hire a consultant to help with their business until their business has gotten into trouble. And then they're like, oh, crud nuggeties, I got to go hire a consultant to help with my business because I'm in a disaster. So what do we do to pull ourselves out if we already jumped on the bandwagon, started the business, flipped off our boss, drove away, now what do we do? Can't go back, we burned the bridge.
Yeah. I would just always say to drop back and punt, go back to that last place that you kind of felt comfortable and knew what you were doing. Remember why you made that decision to flip off your boss and drive away. Because that passion is what's going to keep you going. It may not be the thing that is the answer to everything, but you have to love what you're doing to make a decision to go in and jump in to be an entrepreneur, because there are lots of days when entrepreneurship is the best. It's the best. There's no better feeling than being your own boss. And there are some days you would give anything to have someone telling you what to do, because you are so lost and you don't know what the next step is. So in any of those times, and that happens throughout all business. I mean, my husband and I had a company for 15 years, and there were lots of times we just had to stop and drop back and go, okay, wait, what were we doing the last time we really felt like we knew what we were doing? And sometimes it's just getting centered, like really figuring out, am I really still doing the thing that I really want to do?
Yeah, for sure. In our company, we call that hitting the reset button. It's like somehow you've gone way off track, tried to do a whole bunch of different things that didn't fit with the plan. And then you go, this is not working and I'm not happy. And okay, reset, start over. Just go ahead. Yeah.
Yes. And it is, there's this balance, right? So you jump out, you do the thing, you get some traction, you're making some great connections, you maybe make a sale or two, but it still isn't really taking off. There's this balance between staying consistent and knowing that it's just not going to work that way. And I feel like this is probably that when you're hanging in that balance, this is when you either need to have what I like to call a business bestie, which is someone that is also in business, kind of doing what it is that you do, or something similar, or who is maybe in the business at the same time frame that you've been, where you can bounce those ideas off. Or you bite the bullet and you go hire a business consultant who is going to short track you to that next thing. And that's where I think so many people are like, oh, I can't afford a business consultant. And a lot of times they can't. Like, you have to be financially able to pay for a business consultant. But there comes a point at which you do not know where to go. You don't know which way to turn, and you really need someone that you can at least talk to for a minute and just say, okay, I've done this, and this, and I've spent 6 months doing this. Do I abandon the whole thing and turn around, or do I stay consistent and keep going? What am I supposed to do?
Yes. And I love that concept of saying, when you're not sure where to go and you feel like you've done all the things. You're like, well, I did this and then I did this. I'm supposed to do that. And I did that and I'm working so hard. And then somebody comes in from the outside and they go, well, how come you did this way and not that way? And you go, huh? And then all of a sudden you realize that if you just flipped that one little thing,
yes,
everything is easier and now we can make this work. And
Yes.
that's kind of the beauty of bringing in that outside person or having the business bestie and you guys are doing it differently. And then you go, how come theirs is working and mine is terrible? And then they say, oh, because they're doing this piece before that piece instead of after. And then you go, oh, I could do that. And yeah, I love that. I love that idea. I think that's a great idea. And you're so right. Even if you can't bring somebody in all the time, if you can do one or two, sessions or whatever it is that you need, go chat with someone for one time or get this consultant for that time, one time. And I've talked to people even just in a get to know you connect meeting, and they've said something to me that I was like, oh, yeah, that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, and I think that a lot of people probably don't realize that, I got into being a business consultant because my heart is to see entrepreneurs succeed. If someone were to call me and say, okay, I can't afford one of your packages, but I could afford to sit with you for 2 sessions for the next 2 weeks, would you be willing to do that? Well, of course I'd be willing to do that, because my heart is to see business owners succeed. I've been there, and that's my heart. So I think a lot of people are like, oh, a business consultant is going to cost $10,000 and I don't have $10,000. And the fact of the matter is you hire what you can afford. If that $10,000 consultant would sit down with you for just a couple of hours, if they're willing to do that, then that's what you can afford. And that's the important part of business, is understanding when it's time to reach out for help.
Yes. Yes, it is. Yes, absolutely. And then I'm guessing that once you sit with that person, it helps if you do the thing. Whatever it is they told you to do. If you actually do it.
That's called action.
Oh.
Yeah. We can plan, and we can do lots and lots of planning. We can talk, and we can talk to all the people, but until we do the thing, it doesn't matter much. And one of the things that I often tell new business owners is, I know this is backwards to what you ever would think of doing, but you really need to practice. This is why doctors have to do the residency. This is no different. If you're going to decide to be a graphic designer, you really need to know how to be a graphic designer. For me as a consultant, I had lots of clients that either didn't pay me at all, they understood that I was practicing with them, or they paid, a discounted price, because I wanted to make sure every time I launched something new that I was offering, I was not going to do that without having gone through it first with someone. So I would find someone that met or fit that type of program I was wanting to do. And then I would just say, would you be interested in being my practice person? And I never had anybody go, oh, no, I can't be your practice person. No one's going to say that. So whatever your thing is, whether you're selling a product or whether you're being a service provider of some kind, it doesn't matter. Plumbers can't go be plumbers unless they've gone through school, and attorneys can't be attorneys unless they practice. I mean, it doesn't matter what type of business you're in. You have to have that time, that 10,000 hours that you talked about in the beginning.
Yeah, that's so true. And such a great point of, you have to put the work in and you have to practice your craft no matter what it is. And so that's a good part of the reason why you need that 2 years of cushion, because you're going to be practicing for a while if this is brand new for you, if you haven't run a business before or screwed up a business before, or whatever it is. Yeah.
Oh, but all of those screw ups are such great lessons for the future.
Oh, gosh, I know everything not to do. Let's not say everything, but I know a lot of things not to do.
Yes.
I tested them and they didn't work.
Yeah. They're not failures. They're just all the different ways that you can do it that don't work.
Yes, that's right. So very true. So very true. Well, this has been awesome. Thank you, Jennifer. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Camille. This was fun.
Absolutely. If you would like to find out more from Jennifer, she has packages for startups all the way up to people who are ready to sell their business and everything in between. Her website is www.bizdirectionllc.com. Thank you as well to our listeners and viewers. I'm your host, Camille Diaz. This show is sponsored by Serenity Financial, a Five Rings financial agency specializing in financial education, living benefits, and guaranteed lifetime income. So today's money mantra is pulled from what Jennifer told me at the beginning of the show, which is, I know my numbers and I make thoughtful decisions.